1. Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
Matt, have you ever heard the term wholesalers before?
Wholesalers, like Costco?
Like Costco, Sam's Club? Yeah,
Right.
those guys. No, in terms of real estate.
No.
No?
Explain what that is.
So basically, what a wholesaler does, like, let me put it this way. Have you ever heard those commercials for, hey, go to a weekend seminar, we'll teach you how to invest in real estate
Sure.
with little to no money
Right.
down? Okay, that's essentially wholesaling. And what they're doing is, let's say the house is in a state of disrepair. It will not qualify for traditional financing.
Okay.
Okay, so you can't get a loan on the property. So let's say, but once the house is fixed up, it's worth $200,000. Well, what a wholesaler will do is they will go to that homeowner and say, hey, I'll pay you $90,000 cash for the house, and we'll close quickly, 10, 12 days, and you don't have to fix anything, you don't have to pay any fees,
Right.
no closing costs, no nothing. And sometimes the homeowner, in certain situations, that makes good sense for them. And but then what that wholesaler does, that oftentimes, and this is like some states don't even allow wholesaling. But
Why not?
because of what happens next. So
Okay.
far, everything's kind of making sense.
Sure.
But what happens next is that wholesaler has a contract for $90,000. What they will then do is they will sell that contract to an investor, somebody that's actually going to go in, fix the property,
Right.
swing the hammer, that type of a thing. They will sell it to that investor. And how that works is they'll say, hey, I have this contract for $90,000. The investor says, great, I'd be willing to pay up to $100,000 for that property. So now that wholesaler then has a second contract drafted where he's now selling that property to the investor.
Right.
And so he's making the $10,000 and the homeowner is making the $90,000.
Right.
And so why some states don't allow this is it's a little bit more involved than a typical real estate transaction. There's less disclosures. So it's more complicated,
Sure, absolutely.
less informed. And the belief is that many of those homeowners, if they knew there was somebody willing to pay $100,000 for their house, they would want that offer instead of the one for $90,000.
Right. Well, it would be up to that investor to get ahead of the game then and get to those homeowners before the wholesaler does then, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what
Don't they try to do that?
So yeah, the investors are, but if the wholesaler got there first,
Yeah.
then that's where the argument is the homeowner is the one losing in that situation because they could have technically gotten $10,000 more, using this example, $10,000 more for their house.
Right.
But the wholesaler doesn't have a fiduciary
Well, they could have got even
responsibility.
more, though, if they did all the repairs and they just decided to work with a real estate team and put their house on the market the traditional way, right?
Correct. Yep.
So there's lots of options. Yeah, you can make more money doing it this way. I mean, the wholesaler is the fastest, simplest way to do it, right?
Well, here's a situation that happened recently, right? It wasn't Valor and I. This isn't our story. This is somebody we know.
Yeah.
And what happened was the house was coming on the market. There's tons of crap everywhere. It's not even on the market yet. And they said, well, hey, they just let a bunch of real estate agents know, hey, if you know anybody who would be willing to take on the house before all of the junk is removed. It was a rental property, and it was trash, and it took forever to get the tenants out. If you know anybody that's interested, send them by, and we can submit a cash offer as is, or they're just going to fix up the property, and
Right.
the price will go up over time. So what this agent did is they reached out to their pool of investors. One of the investors was interested.
Right.
One of the investors said, yes, I'm willing to pay, again, we'll just use that $90,000 example. I'm willing to pay $90,000 for the home. And the homeowner was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. We've had offers at $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. $90,000 is the best one. Cash will be in the bank money will be in the bank in 12 days. Well, unfortunately, that wholesaler went out to their network of investors and somebody and some random investor just drove by the property, was on the property without permission, somehow encountered the homeowners, the landlords, and we're saying, yeah, we're the ones buying the property. We're paying X amount of dollars for the property, which is more than the contracted price. And so now the homeowners are all upset because they feel like they've been taken advantage of, even though they were happy 24 hours prior.
Well, they were misled, though. That person who came onto their property the second time, though, was misrepresenting themselves, right?
No, they're the ones that are taking. They're the ones that the contract is being assigned to. They're the end user, and so they're paying $100,000, but the homeowner's only getting 90. And it's just here's my take on it is as long as they were happy with the 90, if that was the best offer. Sometimes people are wholesalers, and sometimes people are both. They will wholesale it, or they will take it from construction to completion. Okay. And sometimes it changes mid-process. Like they think the numbers change.
Yeah.
They get in there and like, oh, this makes more sense to go this other route. There's nothing necessarily unethical about that, but it just feels bad when you think you're getting taken advantage of. And for most homeowners, that's how that feels to them.
Right.
There's even a thing called a double close, so you can actually hide it from the homeowners, so this doesn't even come up. And that's where they close on the property with that $90,000 purchase price in the morning, and then they close on it with a $100,000 purchase price in the afternoon. And it's
so for people that are listening that are considering selling their home and they do want a simple process, they don't want to do the repairs, right? They don't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have the time. Maybe it just sounds too complicated and overwhelming, and they see some of these opportunities. Hey, we will pay you cash for your home, sight unseen, right? They don't even look at the home. Are you advising them to be careful out there? And
definitely be careful. So first of all, if somebody's telling you
this is not a good idea.
No, well, generally speaking, no. Generally speaking, no. So let's say if somebody's going to tell you they're going to pay so much money sight unseen, I'm saying that's horse pucky. That is not true. That is fake. You wouldn't buy a car sight unseen, let alone a house, because there's so many complexities and systems within a house that could impact the home's value. Another story, a person I met, she had an investment property. It was in Roseville. The house was built like 2017. And I get a call and she's like, hey, come out. I'd like to get a cash offer on my home. And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't make any sense. This home is new. It's in a new development.
Right.
Why would you want to cash out? Like, what happened that makes this house not worth going on the market and going the traditional route? But so I go, and turns out, again, tenants were living in the property. A pipe burst.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-story home, and it flooded the whole bottom. And so, like, I think it was ServPro had been out there, and they totally gutted everything. All you could see were studs throughout the house. It was almost like the house was
Throughout the entire house, first and second floor?
So all of the first floor and parts of the second floor. It was
Wow.
It was pretty, and there was no flooring on the second floor. It was pretty interesting.
Wow.
And because on the
pipe
outside
burst and flooded the house.
Yeah. And so from the outside, it looks like a normal home. I'm walking up to it, I'm like, why does this person want a cash offer? And and then as soon as I open the door, I'm like, oh, this makes sense.
Right.
And, but I walked her through the numbers, and so that house was probably all fixed up. They call it the ARV, after repair value. All fixed up, that house is probably worth $540.
Right.
Okay. So I asked her, well, how much were you wanting? Like, what was the cash offer you were looking for? And she told me $500.
Right.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. You just told me that you had a contractor out here and he quoted $70,000 to make the repairs. Like, the numbers don't align. And so I reached out to one investor. He was not interested. I reached out to a second investor. He came back, and I told her, and I walked her through the numbers. And if you have any questions about what an investor offers look like, just go to madeformorerealty.com, reach out to us. We can walk you through this process.
So just to clarify, she was looking for $500,000, no repairs, just take the home off my shoulders, and the contractor were estimating somewhere around $70,000 to fix it up.
Correct.
And you figured the market value would be around $540 for this property?
Oh yeah, all day long, $540.
Okay. Easily $540, maybe even more?
No, maybe $545, but we're not talking like a whole lot of.
Okay.
Like, it's just very obviously $540.
So
Yeah.
her knowing that, then obviously if she decided to do all the repairs, she would lose money on the deal then.
So no, well, so the issue with her was she didn't want to deal with the repair. She didn't want to do any of that. She just wanted it necessarily off her hands. And so I walked her through it. And what the offer, like again, I just back of the napkin math. I could walk through this with everybody specific because one house may need 70,000, one house may need 15,000.
Right.
You know, it just depends. And so I will walk through and I will show you every single step. And so it's where we start at is what is the house worth fixed up?
Right.
Okay. Then yes, they say that and they being the investors say that you're not going to have to pay any realtor fees or closing costs because they're paying it. So they have to work that in their number. So there's the closing costs when they buy the house from you. Mm-hmm. Then there's the closing costs when they sell it on the open market, right? So there's two sets of closing costs that they have to work into their budget.
Yeah.
So there's the ARV, there's the two sets of closing costs, there's the repair budget, and you always have to, even if it's like looks black and white, you always have to build in a little bit of a buffer just for the unknowns. And then at that point, the investors made no money, like $0. They've spent, in many instances, tens of thousands, if not six figures.
Yeah.
Risked six figures on this property, and they haven't made a dime yet. And so investors, how it was explained to me, is they'll typically want to make somewhere around 15, maybe 20% on the sale of the home for their for the risk that they've undergone. If not, they could just put money into the stock market and it would get them 10%.
Right.
Okay, on average. So when you build that in, she wanted 500. The house is worth like I told her, you're probably going to get an offer somewhere around 378 to 399.
Oh, without the repairs.
With as is, walk away, cash in your bank in 12 days or less. And so first investor said no. Second investor said, let me look.
The first investor said no to the 500,000.
First investor said no to the project. He's like, I'm too busy. This is too much work for what I have going on right now. I have so many remodels going on already.
Right.
If this was a lighter project, I'd be interested. So the first investor said no. Second investor said, I'm interested. Let me go out there and see the property. His numbers came back. He came back at 380. Remember, I told her 378 to like 395. Okay. So the numbers that we work with are pretty accurate when we're quoting you on what
they are living in the house at the time.
No, this was an investment property.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, but anyways, she's like, well, absolutely not. I'm not going to take less than 450. Totally fine. You know, it's your house, your rules, but there's no investor that's going to pay 450 because they haven't even made a dime at that point. They're basically fixing up your house for free.
Right.
They're taking on your problem for free. That's not what investors do. They're a business, just like a mechanic or a dentist or a doctor. They're here to earn a living. And anyways, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
So what ended up happening? She just decided to say no, and
so I'm still looking for another investor that may be able to come up a little bit.
Yeah.
So what typically happens?
That's tough. I mean, you can shop around for different contractors, but what you said is most likely it's around $70,000 to get the home in a condition where someone could move in and live in it.
And what was unique about this situation was she had a quote from the insurance company. Like it wasn't like she's having to trust my quote for $70,000. She had a quote and she still doesn't understand, isn't willing to come to terms with what the numbers are telling her.
Yeah.
So I work with I think some of the best investors in the area, like in terms of when I say best, meaning they get the job done, they don't renegotiate on you, they don't tell you, hey, I'll pay you $450 for the home because that's what you told me you wanted, and then I'm going to change it down. I'm actually going to pay you, $380. So they don't do that. But the numbers they say are the numbers that they're willing to pay, and they're willing to pay more because they're typically doing more volume. They have deeper pockets. It's their money. They're not using hard money from a third party. And so anyways, I might be able to get her a little bit more for the property if I find the right investor, but at the end of the day, there's no way she's getting $450. The numbers don't pencil. And it was just interesting to hear, have a wholesaler come in and do this earlier on a different property, and then hear me experience it with an investor on another property, all within the matter of like 3 days.
Yeah.
So we're very familiar with this process. We have lots of investors, and so if you're looking for a cash offer, we can help you. But typically, if your house can qualify for financing, it makes more sense for you to go the traditional route And by making more sense, I mean, you'll make more money.
Yeah, because
going
sometimes,
traditional route.
it sounds like this will be easier and simpler, but that's not always the case.
You're paying for speed. You're paying for simplicity. If you want to sit in the front of the plane because you can get on early, you have concierge service, you can get off faster. You're paying for the speed.
Yeah.
If you want a fast pass at Disneyland, I don't even know if they call that because I don't go to Disneyland.
Right.
But if you want to cut the lines at Disneyland, you're paying for that speed. Same thing with a house. You're paying for the convenience. And but if the bottom dollar, and here's the thing, is that homes on average are selling in less than 30 days. So 12 days versus 30 days, is it worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars for you to wait an extra week or two?
Yeah.
Most people, they would say yes. So anyways,
hire the contractor to come do the work.
Hire the contractor, or list traditionally. Like again, if the home qualifies, most homes qualify for traditional.
But you can
financing.
list it traditionally with as much work that it needed.
You
right?
can do that too.
Really?
Yeah. So it would just go on the MLS, and you would just go on the MLS, and it would get blown up by all these different contractors and people who scour the MLS every single day looking for handyman specials,
right?
Fix-it opportunities.
Yeah.
Which is actually something I'd like to cover once we get back, is about how a lot of people think just listing the home and putting it on the internet is all that it takes to sell a house. But what they don't realize is what we're going to cover when we get back.
Fear, worry, anxiety. Why go through all of that in selling your home? There's a much easier way. It's peaceful, it's joyful, it's exciting. That's what happens when you work with the best in our area, Johnny Jennings and his team at Made for More Realty. And check this out. You can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Before we get into why it takes more than the internet to sell a house, and how if you just think that it could end up
You just
costing
put it on
lots of money.
Zillow and bam, within probably overnight, 24 hours, you're getting 7 or 8 offers, right? Because you know that this is the best deal in the neighborhood.
It's the best house. There's no other house that compares
exactly.
to your house. Yeah.
I mean, all those memories that you created in your home, those are invaluable.
Yep.
You can't even put a price on that. So who wouldn't want to buy your house, especially if you've got that swing in the front yard?
And the hydrangea that blooms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's got
succulents.
its issues, but it's.
But it has great neighbors. There's great neighbors.
Great neighborhood.
Yeah. No, but so
just put it online and bam, it'll sell itself. You don't even need a realtor.
You don't even.
Why waste all your money on a realtor? What are they going to do?
Nothing.
The house sells itself.
They're just going to kick back and smoke cigars and go on vacation to Cabo. That's all they're doing. But before we get into that, off the air, we were talking a little bit about Mike. You were confused about
Matt, by the way. Good to meet you.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. It's okay. We do have my other co-host. His name is Mike, so I get it.
Magic
You use
Matt.
his office when you come into the station.
Thank
so
you.
I get it.
Thank you, Mike, for letting me use your office.
Heads up to Mike, executive producer Mike.
There we go. But so there was some confusion about the lady's situation of
so she's an investor, but she owns the property and she was renting it out, right? She was the landlord. So she owned the property. She was renting it out to a family. Obviously, the pipe busts.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah. The family has to move out, right? So, but she still owns the property.
So she's still making the monthly mortgage payment.
Right. I get that. And you're saying, well, she didn't want to deal with it anymore. And she just wanted to sell it. And apparently she wanted like 90% of its value before the work was done.
And I'm not making fun of her. It's just she doesn't know how the numbers work.
Yeah. Well, Yeah.
But
I'm curious why. I mean, if she's in it for the monthly rental income that she's getting, right? She sees the advantage of that. She sees the opportunity of, all right, I've got a regular income. I've got regular tenants. And I'm going to have. Why are you quitting on that? Why not? Obviously, if it's a busted pipe, I would assume maybe not that it would be covered by insurance, by your homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah.
Get it done, and then just find another tenant. Get back on the path that you've been on.
Back in the saddle.
Yeah. Why are you derailing and saying, "I quit, I give up"?
Yeah.
Or maybe she's watched all these videos and heard about, hey, we'll buy your house sight unseen, and so
she may go that route. She may end up fixing it up herself if she can't get the numbers she wanted. I believe firmly that she didn't realize how the numbers worked, And had she done, she might have just skipped contacting investors and gone that route. But what many people in her shoes are worried about is, yes, they may have homeowners insurance, but if you file a claim with the homeowners insurance, like the insurance companies move slow. There's a lot of, like, there's another guy, Tom Daves and I went on an appointment. Shit, I think it was a year ago. And his house, like, most of it burned down. Like, not habitable, burned down. And almost a year later, he was still fighting with the insurance companies to get construction restarted on the property. Meanwhile, I don't remember if he had a mortgage or not, but if he did, he's still paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
He's still paying the property. He's still paying all these expenses and not getting to live there, plus having to pay to live somewhere else. So with her, she might still be paying a mortgage. She might have this overhead, and she's like, I can't wait to figure this out with the insurance company, one.
Yeah.
Two, if she's going to move forward on that insurance claim goes on what's called a clue report. So think of a clue report as being your credit score with the insurance companies. Any insurance company can look up your clue report and see how many claims you filed. And so that's going to affect her premiums. So she's like, well, I don't want necessarily my homeowner's insurance premiums to be changed. So that may be why she's going the investor route. And a third reason why is she may be a landlord. She bought the property to rent it out, but she's not a contractor. She doesn't want to have to deal with all this and maybe find her own contractors or work with the insurance company and deal with timelines and all that.
I get it, but you're an investor. You're in it for the long haul. And
so maybe if she gets her number, she can get her money out and go invest in another property and rent it out.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why. Does that make more sense though? Like why somebody would go that route?
I get it. But if I was in that situation, I don't know. I guess I would think that if she's an investor and if she has more than one property, she would know these types of things.
Man, most people own one or two properties.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're not like.
Well, when you say investor, I'm thinking, oh, okay, an investor, someone who's out there investing.
Yeah, I could see that. But
Maybe this was her first home, and then she's bought an additional home, and instead of selling it, she decided to rent it out. And maybe she thought, well, this is just more than what I thought this would be, and so I'm out, and I don't want to be an investor anymore.
Nope.
I want to be done. So maybe that's what the situation was. Maybe she doesn't want to be a landlord anymore. She wants to be out.
There's a lot of reasons why, and then sometimes even investors, like savvy investors. I went on another appointment recently. This guy, he owns. When I say this, the entire street, it's 3 houses. It's not like, a long street,
right.
But he owns 3 houses on this street. And what he's done over time is he has basically rebuilt houses on this street. So he rebuilt one, better than new, sold it. He rebuilt a second house. It's a beautiful home, beautiful, like way better than anything else in the neighborhood. And now he's renting it out room by room. But he had a life event. His wife recently passed, and he's just done.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't care.
There you go.
Super savvy guy, been doing this a long time, over 40 years. But he had a life event that's like, hey, you know what? I'm focusing on other things now. I'm just trying to simplify my life. And, sometimes life takes unexpected turns.
Right, yeah.
For people. And that easy, punching that easy button is the route some people choose to take. Some people don't have a choice. Like there's substance abuse, there's a job loss, there's a divorce. Interestingly enough, that guy that owns the house on the street, he sold the house to a realtor. One of the houses to a realtor. That realtor went through a divorce and then had to go ahead and flip around, turn around, and sell that property. So sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
But if you are looking to sell a house, it does take more than just the internet to move that property, to get you top dollar for that home. What I tell clients every single time when I go in the living room is I go, hey, you know what? I've been doing this over 10 years now. I've been licensed over 10 years. And what I thought when I got in the industry was, hey, let's just put it on the internet. The internet will do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
It'll expose it to all these people.
Isn't that where most people find their home is they go look online, they go on Zillow, and they find their home?
Good old Zillow, my best friend. They go on Zillow, and many times, like I would say 90% of the time, I hear people, they're at least at some point looking for homes on Zillow.
Okay.
And so, sure, people are looking at homes online. But what most people don't realize is that in the last 12 months, so the trailing 12 months, over 28,000 homes have come onto our MLS, have had the benefit of Zillow, have had the sign in the front yard, have had the photos, whether professional or not, but they've had, at the end of the day, they've had the benefit of the internet to help market their property.
Yeah.
And in the last 12 months, in our local MLS, 28,000 homes did not sell. So if all it took to sell that property was the internet, why did 28,000 homes fail to sell?
The market.
It takes more than just the internet. And so for example, when somebody comes to us, we have a network of contractors who are phenomenal. Like, they do great quality work at basically handyman prices. Like the fee that you're paying a listing agent or you're paying the Made for More team, you're more than earning that back. Like, we're saving you that much money.
So you're saying if someone is wanting to put their home on the market, but they have some repairs that need to be done on their home, right? Whether it's in the backyard, bathroom, kitchen, when they connect with you guys at Made for More Realty, they're going to save money because you guys have the connections of contractors who have the best rates, are the fastest and get the best quality work. So that's an advantage. Aside from just trying to sell it online, you're going to be able to get your home in the best condition because they're working with you guys who have the best connections.
We're saving you tons of money. There was a guy, he had a roof leak. He called me up in the morning. He's like, Johnny, I just had this roof leak. He's not even on the market. He's getting his house ready for the market. He's like, Johnny, he's not even signed with me. We've just developed a relationship, like a professional relationship, and he just calls me if he has issues. And he's like, Johnny, I have this roof leak. I don't know what to do. Do you have any contractors you can recommend? I said, absolutely. Here's this guy's number. He'll reach out to you immediately. That contractor was there the same day. He called me in the afternoon. In the morning. The contractor was out there in the afternoon, giving him a bid and helping him get his house fixed because he was trying to do it in between the rains.
So that's the advantage of working with you guys.
That's
get things done.
That's one of the advantages. The other advantage is how the contracts are negotiated. So it's not just whatever you throw it up on the internet. Like that's not the purchase price. That's the marketing price.
Right.
What happens is once you're in contract, once you're receiving offers, like what do the terms look like? Is it normal for the area? Are they asking for more than they should, or are you getting a good deal on the price and terms? Because the price may be good, but if they're offering, so for example, terms would be, are they asking for you to credit them some money? Are they asking for certain closing costs? Are they asking for too much when the repairs come around, the repair conversation? And that is how you end up netting the most amount of money with a real estate agent is by having. So another example, we had him in here a couple weeks ago, Zach with Nanify. She needed a new roof. There was no way she was going to get a loan on the property without a 2-year roof cert because her roof was in poor shape.
Right.
She had a quote for $18,000
for a new roof.
A new roof. We said, hey, there might be a better option. We sent Zach out there, and it was like $2,500. So basically, I think her entire fee, I can't remember what her house is selling for, but her entire fee that she was paying us was saved just in that one thing, let alone the Bay Area marketing, let alone everything else.
Yeah.
And so if you're and here's something else before, and we'll talk about this in the next segment, but there are services out there that will just throw your property up on the MLS. They will not represent you. They might provide you with some professional photos at a cost, and they'll just throw the property up on the MLS. If that was the best way to get top dollar for your home, then everybody would be doing it. But I very rarely run into those companies. And the reason why is the discount model is not the best model for the consumer. And we'll touch on that when we come back from the break.
So trust is a big deal to me, and I'm sure trust is really important to you as well, especially with who you work with. You want someone you can depend on, that you can rely on, someone that you believe has your best interests in mind at all times. And especially when it comes to selling your home, you want to work with someone you trust, that you know is going to net you the most money for your home and that's going to take care of you. And that's who Johnny Jennings is and his team at Made for More Realty. Not only are they a talented, experienced, they know what they're doing, but they have great character. You can depend on them giving you the truth honest answers and looking out for your best interests no matter what, even over their own. So there's a reason why they have over 1,000 5-star Google reviews, why so many people have trusted them, why they have been the number one team in Roseville for the past 3 years. So find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. No need to do repairs or staging, none of that stuff. Just reach out and Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So, Matt, we've been working together now for a little bit, and but I got to know something. Are you like a coupon clipper? Or are you like, hey?
Absolutely. Well, I'm not a coupon clipper, but I am frugal. I look for the best deals. I look for discounts. And sometimes it's not always a great deal. You know, sometimes you go to the extra effort and you're like, well, that was a waste. That was stupid. Why did I go to all that effort just to save a couple of dollars when the product is not as good, or all the hassle and the work that I went through to do it?
Yep.
Like, for instance, like DIY projects, you know, is it worth it to hire somebody?
I almost thought you were going to say DEI. I was like, what? Well, this show just went a different way.
DIY. So if, you know, there's that debate. Oh, I can just fix this myself. I can fix my washing machine myself.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you know, 3 weeks later, my wife is going to the laundromat and I'm still trying to figure out what's wrong with it. But, you know, and it would have been just easier and cheaper probably in the long run to just hire somebody. So I'm like that. I'm always looking for the best deal. I'm a single income family home. And so I got 3 kids. And so just trying to maximize.
Put those kids to work, man. You can turn into a 4-income family.
I know, exactly. So I'm like many people out there, always looking for a good deal for the best price on something. You know, sometimes it's beneficial. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, wow, what a waste. I should have just bought the more expensive one, or, you know.
Well, sometimes that is exactly what sellers are going through, right? They're thinking, hey, what's the difference between the more traditional route and a discount model? So
the more traditional route is what?
More traditional route is, we're not allowed to discuss fees typically, but you're talking like 2.5, 3 bananas instead of 1
working
banana.
With a local real estate
agent. Yeah.
With a company like Made for More. You're the more traditional route.
Absolutely.
Right? Working with somebody.
Traditional in the sense of that we're not, when I say traditional, essentially what I mean is not a discount shop. We're not a discount broker.
Usually a smaller brokerage, right? Not a huge.
Or even like Remax, Keller,
those are
Century
still
21,
traditional. Okay.
Realty One. Those are all more traditional.
So that's
brokerages.
Traditional. What's a discount brokerage?
So a discount brokerage is somebody who's willing to do similar work to what a traditional brokerage does, but for less money.
Less of a commission.
Less fees, yeah.
Still a real person, right?
Sometimes. Sometimes you're dealing with somebody who's going to walk you through the process from beginning to end. Sometimes it's chunked up. So they're just there to help you in the initial consultation. Then there's somebody else to help you get the process, the home ready. Then there's somebody else, like it's an assembly line type of a process.
So as a homeowner, I have 2 options. I have the traditional route, which is the traditional commission rate that's been around for years, right?
Yeah. Well, and that tends to net you the most amount of money. So that's a clear differentiator. Is there's the traditional route that nets the homeowner the most amount of money. There's the cash offer route, which is easy. It's like the Staples Easy
less
button.
Work, simple,
less
quick,
work.
Fastest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the discount brokerage, like a Redfin, which are
RIP.
RIP.
Yeah, Redfin. They were recently purchased by Rocket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So and they offer sellers the opportunity to put their home on the market at a much lower commission rate.
Absolutely.
And so a homeowner looks at that and says, hold on a second, this is great. I'm going to net the most money, less fees. Why wouldn't I go this route? This seems obvious. I mean, Redfin, Johnny Jennings, same deal. You know, they're going to probably do the same amount of work, same strategy, right? So that's
what they think.
For me, okay, so correct us in our error in thinking that way.
So I will say there are fantastic agents at these various discount shops. Like, I'm not knocking any individuals. Valerie and I used to work for a discount shop. We used to work for Purple Bricks, and we provided exceptional service, and our clients loved us, and we're still working with them to this day. That's a good barometer on how you're doing with clients. If they call you up and if they refer friends and family members, right? Then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I was providing a service worth what I was charging. What happens with these discount models, and why, to my knowledge, none of them have succeeded at scale. So there's Help You Sell from I think they started in the 70s. I hardly run across a Help You Sell agent. There was Rex, they're bankrupt. There was Purple Bricks, they're bankrupt. There's Redfin, they barely ever made any money, and they ended up selling out to Rocket. They were acquired by Rocket. So the Redfin experiment is over. As far as it goes with discount brokerages, the reason why they don't work.
Why did they fail, though?
So for Redfin,
why did their model not work? It seems like it should have worked.
So with Redfin, based off what I've read, and Purple Bricks, based off what I lived, they made the same mistakes. Purple Bricks expanded too quickly, and they burned through their capital. And
it seems like it would be tough to acquire and retain talented people.
That's exactly what ends up happening long term. So
like, why would I want to work for you? I'm not going to get paid as much. That would be tough to get people on board. Maybe they think they get a larger volume, but still, that's just a lot of work.
It's a lot of work
for less
money.
Pay. Yeah.
It's so hard on the agent. So what ends up happening? So Purple Bricks Part 1, reason one, they expanded too quickly before they became profitable.
Yeah.
They led with growth was more important than profits, which ultimately led to the demise of Purple Bricks. Redfin, and that was thing one with Purple Bricks. The second thing is it's really hard. Purple Bricks was only around in the U.S. for 18 months. But had they been around 2 years, 3 years, what they would have started experiencing is those top producing agents that they had, those quality agents providing quality service, would have gone to a more traditional brokerage model because they could get paid more for doing the same work.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it's just the newer, less experienced, lower quality agents that are remaining at Purple Bricks, which would have tarnished the brand. And that's kind of what Redfin ran into a little bit. So what happened with Redfin is, again, there were great agents at Redfin. I know 2 guys who were absolutely phenomenal Redfin agents. 3. Out of those 3, 2 left. 2 left and started and joined other brokerages or started their own thing. Okay, so the quality ones left. So this isn't. I'm not talking out of theory. This is like real life personal experience. So, what Redfin, one of the problems Redfin ran into though is they were not making money. The discount model does not scale. If you're getting paid, let's just say $1,000 per transaction, and you got to pay a real estate agent, you got to pay a transaction coordinator, you got to pay photos. Like there's not a lot of money there.
Yeah.
Like how are you going to support the agent? So now the agent has to do all these other roles, and then they end up getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And then you have to bring on another agent, and then it's just rinse and repeat. And so the quality of service, the quality of the product is lower at that discount model. If you go walk into a Walmart, the clothes there are very different than the clothes at Nordstrom. They're both shirts, but the quality is different. And so, and as far as shirts go, that's fine. But when it comes to selling a house, that's oftentimes people's greatest asset. And people noticed that they were making more money with the traditional route, even though they were paying more than they were with the Redfin model. For example, sold a house for a family in Sacramento. They had moved out of the house and they'd bought another home. So they still had a mortgage on that first property that they were paying. The house was vacant. There were no tenants in there. So every single month they were writing a check for a house they were not living in. A house that was vacant, that could be vandalized, that could have a water pipe break, and they don't even know about it because they're not living in the home. They went with a friend. The friend couldn't get the house sold. They then thought, hey, you know what? All realtors are the same. Let's just go with the cheapest option.
Yeah.
And let's just try somebody newer or somebody different. So they went with the cheap option. They couldn't get the house sold. Why? I don't know. Maybe they had the pricing wrong. Maybe they were inexperienced. Maybe their marketing wasn't on point. Maybe they didn't have a network of people or a database of people they could reach out to.
Right.
End of the day, the house didn't sell. So when they call us, we were the most expensive. We were the most pricey option, but we were the least expensive. We were the least expensive for 2 reasons. One, the house sold. Right, they didn't have to write another mortgage check. It sold the first weekend on the market, multiple offers.
Right.
And 2, we netted them more money than what they would have gotten with those other people. So even though our fee was higher, their out-of-pocket was less. That's one example. Another example was a house was listed by Redfin. The person could not sell it. Again, the house is vacant. Nobody's living in there. They're still making the monthly payment. There's a risk of squatters and just, actually on this house,
Right.
there was during the winter season, it rained, caused water damage. During one of the showings, the water damage was discovered, right? And so, but they would not have known that otherwise. At least there were showings taking place. We ended up selling that home. Redfin had it listed before. Redfin couldn't get the job done. And so when you're looking at it, yes, if you're just looking at it black and white, hey, they're going to charge me, one banana. The discount's going to charge me one banana. Made for More is going to charge me more bananas. Like, I'm just going to go with the cheaper option. If you're looking at it just on paper, then yeah, the numbers would make sense in that way, but that's not how. There's so much more that goes into it. And the third and final example I'll give you is I was interviewing for a job, for a listing. The house was valued at $1.7 million. So this is not like a small amount in terms of realtor fees that we're talking about, okay? He was also interviewing Redfin. He chose me because of the marketing, because of the experience, and because of the contractors and just the expertise we were able to provide versus the templated Redfin model. This is a guy who is very, very, I don't want to say cheap, frugal, very,
Right.
very cost conscious. But he recognized, hey, you pay for what you get. This is a $1.7 million transaction. I'm not going to risk that on somebody who's new.
Right.
So when you're evaluating, again, there's good agents in all these brokerages, but you can't ignore the fact that every single one of them has failed at scale. Purple Bricks, Rex, Redfin, they're gone. They do not exist anymore in the traditional sense. They're
not selling houses.
They're not selling enough houses to make a profit,
Yeah.
which means their agents probably aren't making enough money, which means what kind of quality service are you getting?
Right.
And at the end of the day, are they getting the job done? If Redfin was getting the job done way better than everybody else, you'd see Redfin signs everywhere.
Yeah.
The question you have to ask yourself is, why do I not see more Redfin signs?
Because the work required is the work that's required to sell a home.
Yep.
There's no, in that sense, there is no difference between Redfin and what you guys do. The work that is required to sell that home for the most money is the work that's going to be required. There's no way to compromise on the stitching, like an assured or how it's done. If you want to sell the house for the most money, then you got to put in the work, and just Redfin
They couldn't get it done.
isn't able to do that.
They didn't have the resources to get it done the right way.
Yeah, it's not cost effective for them.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, I mean, again, this isn't necessarily a bash on Redfin. I wish the discount model worked, but it just doesn't.
But okay, so bottom line then, if someone is thinking about selling their home, obviously what you're saying is that discount brokerage looks appealing, but sometimes things are too good to be true.
If it looks too good to be true, many times it is. I'm not saying it always is. There's one-offs, but just interview other people, look at their Google reviews, look at what their track record of success is versus what fee you're paying. Because at the end of the day, again, we are not the cheapest option in the market. Made for More is not the cheapest option in the market, but we are the least expensive because we're netting our clients more money.
Fear, worry, anxiety, why go through all of that in selling your home? There's a much easier way. It's peaceful, it's joyful, it's exciting. That's what happens when you work with the best in our area, Johnny Jennings and his team at Made for More Realty. And check this out, you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, so I need to clarify. It seems like
Been a lot of clarifying today.
A lot of clarifying. Yeah, I know. We were talking about Zillow a few episodes ago.
Yes.
And you said somebody had a question.
Somebody had a question about our conversation in regards to Zillow and all of the latest headlines and the CEO. And they were saying that Zillow's been around forever. Zillow's been around for a long time, and they help people sell their homes. And why do you have such a big issue with Zillow? They're doing what they've always been doing.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So Zillow, I mean, it depends on how long you consider forever. Zillow was founded in 2006. It really wasn't even a popular
20 years ago.
Wasn't even like a popular thing to like maybe 2008, 2009.
Right.
And so not that long ago. But what's happened over that period of time is Zillow has evolved. And the most recent evolution is something that I think is not good for the consumer. And that is because they offer a product now that will promote certain listings. The only way you promote certain properties is by suppressing other properties. That's the only way you can differentiate between the two. So if somebody's on Zillow looking for a property, they are not seeing an unbiased, unfiltered list of available homes.
Right.
That is not good for the consumer. That is what I
Why isn't
disagree
it
with.
good for the consumer? What do they care?
Because if they're looking for homes, they want to see the available inventory. That was Zillow's original thing. Like, one, we'll give you a Zestimate, so you have an idea of what your home is worth, and two, see what's out there. You can see what realtors can see without being a real estate agent. And that is not entirely the case anymore, because if other properties are being promoted, you're going to have to search and you're going to have to filter and you're going to have to find the other homes that maybe you're interested in that are not readily, like, obviously available.
Right.
And the thing that really makes me frustrated about this situation is Zillow is not disclosing that. They're not. Consumers do not know, hey, I have to work a little harder to find the property I'm looking for because Zillow is promoting other properties and not promoting other properties.
Right. Okay.
So that's the change that's taking place with Zillow. And what's really interesting is that this is going hand in hand with a conversation called clear cooperation. Clear cooperation states that if you have a listing, you have to put in the MLS within a certain period of time. Like in our MLS, I believe it's 3 days. So a very short period of time from the moment you take the listing to the moment that it's supposed to be live in the MLS. And once it goes live in the MLS, then everybody can see it.
Right.
So a very short period of time. Because what happens if I go on a listing appointment and somebody agrees they want to move forward, but then they have to do all these repairs and get the house ready? Now I have to sign an MLS waiver saying, hey, yes, you agreed to move forward. We're going to keep it out of the MLS for this period of time. And if we don't sign that waiver, the days on market start counting. So if you've ever looked on Zillow or...
Which is not good, because when you're out looking at homes,
Yeah.
the longer days that it's been on the market means what?
Every time the day on market increases by just a day, you are effectively losing a little bit of negotiation power. Because if the home is newer on the market,
Gotcha.
you have more eyeballs, you have more competition. The longer you're on the market, the fewer eyeballs you are having on that property. So let's say we agree to move forward with the listing agreement, but we don't get the listing live until 30 days later. Well, now it shows up on the MLS as being about 30 days on the market when it hasn't even been publicly available for a day. And that is kind of the conversation people are having about clear cooperation. One, should we even be required to put it in the MLS? Like, what if the homeowner doesn't want that? I think more competition is a good thing, but also there's some situations where people don't necessarily want the competition. They're more concerned about privacy. So why are we forcing these people who are concerned about privacy to go into potentially a non-private situation? And yes, you can sign forms and avoid the MLS and do all that, but it's a very rigid rule, and Zillow likes that because now they have, by default, all the inventory. And you can just go to their website and you can see all the inventory. Zillow, whereas like Compass is very much pushing their exclusive listings. So then that way you have to go to Compass's website. You have to contact Compass agents in order to see their properties, cutting Zillow out of the picture.
Yeah. So I don't know how that helps the consumer, how that helps people selling their home. I think... if I'm wanting to sell my home, I want as much cooperation, I would say, as possible. I want as many people out there publicizing and marketing my home as possible. Yep.
So I think what NAR recently did was, depending on how it's implemented, I mean, it just came out yesterday, but what they're saying, I think, is a great happy medium between the two. So rather than saying, yes, you can have your exclusive, you don't have to put in the MLS. There's that's one option, and then on the other end of the spectrum is everything has to be in the MLS.
Right.
You have to do it really quick. What they've now come up with is they're allowing a delayed period. So think of like a coming soon type of a situation.
A little preview.
So if somebody's getting their home ready, and here's the thing too, is that we like to run. When our clients approve of it, we like to run these coming soon programs because people are oftentimes up to seven times more motivated by the fear of loss to make a decision. So what that means is if there was a buyer that missed out, so we sell a house on average every 3 days. If we had a buyer that missed out on a house that we had listed, somebody else purchased it, and now another home that comes up that's similar, they might be willing to pay a premium and give that homeowner the terms that they want,
Right.
to not have to compete with the general market.
Right.
And so, and because they're motivated by that fear of loss. So having that coming soon program, what are they calling it? Like a delayed. You're going to have written consent. This isn't like agents can just randomly do this. And the delay period is going to be defined by the MLS. MetroList is one of the worst MLSs in the country, as far as I really don't think they have the agent's best interest in mind. That's a whole nother conversation. So I'm very curious to see how MetroList, and this isn't just me. This is like national service providers. When I'm working with them, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're with MetroList? They're horrible." And so I'm curious to see how they roll out this delayed. Like, what is that going to look like? Is it going to look like 5 days, 7 days, 2 weeks?
Right.
But at the end of the day, the seller has to consent, and the benefit is it now provides like somewhat of a medium between not having to go on the MLS at all and being forced to put your property in the MLS. So that way, that the sellers are wanting a middle option. NAR is now saying, yes, we're going to let the MLSs do that.
So you're happy with that?
Potentially. I like the idea. I'm curious to see how it works out in practice. Because again, it's just giving the consumer more choices.
All right.
At the end of the day, we're consumer focused.
So someone who's selling their home, we've talked about a lot today. Someone is thinking about selling their home, and they've talked about these discount brokerages, and you've talking about the confusion or the misleading of Zillow, and they just want clarity, like we've talked about today. They want more clarity. They want information, and they just want to net the most for their home. What should they do? Just
go to madeformorerealty.com and just have a conversation with us. Our contact information is there. I can meet with you over the phone, Zoom, or in person. The last thing I'll say is this. I recently met with somebody, beautiful house. They were getting the listing had expired. They were getting taken advantage by the realtor. And I laid out how that was happening, why that was happening, and what their recourse was. I don't even know if they're going to work with me, but I at least armed them with the information to make the best decision for their family. And that's all we're looking to do is help people.